got a quick little update today because I have not been uploading any long form videos in a while, or at least not producing any. Whatever uploads I've had lately were just videos that I've produced a while back and then decided to upload them recently. So, with that being said, along with our update, so we've been having a little bit of boost in popularity lately. This is good. I actually had one of my shorts, got a few reactions to it. They're pretty funny. Someone was expecting to find a body in the bathtub. Nope, no bodies there. At least not any big bodies. I mean, there was a body of soap, little black soap bar. Kind of help, absorb some of the stuff floating around in the house, along with a little bit of salt that I, kind of used to mop the floors a little bit. Now it was enough to, just at least get the floors mopped and not kind of help, pick up some of the residual energy that's been floating around, which is good. Opened up a few new gateways, or say opened up a few doors. It's always good to do that. And so with that being said, if every problem is an opportunity in disguise, well, then the inverse must be true. And so with these opportunities came less time to produce and upload videos. Time is finite, at least here in the physical realm. Now, whether you consider this physical realm to be an illusion, a matrix, a simulation, that is entirely up to you. And as far as we're concerned here and now on this channel, yes, time is very real, and so is the entire physical realm as we speak of. Now, with that being said, I would argue that Malkuth is just as real as Keter and everything in between. If you want to even go above to the Ein Sof, or to whatever is in the ethereal realm above Keter, the Ein Sof, the nothingness before nothing, the infinite nothingness, then that's on you, and I'm not here to give my input on that. It's a bit much for this channel. I mean, it is what we talk about here, by the way, but don't get it twisted. Having to hit that little pause button and then to unpause it every time I need to clear out my throat or something. It is one of the challenges that we have on this channel, but we keep rolling along and we keep sending out the good stuff. Now, what I'm about to say is probably going to rustle some jimmies and stir the pot a bit. However, I decided I was going to talk about the state of affairs for today, particularly here in America and, by extension around the world, given that America makes her impact. The sword of America, in which, we have our elections every 4 years in the time of Scorpio, the month of Scorpio, so, it's a little something to keep thinking about. So as we go to make our impact around the world, we've kind of decided that we're going to have a bit of a argument amongst ourselves over maintaining our global dominance or attacking our political opponents over scandals and smearing campaigns. Now, you know, if the scandals are what they're actually made out to be, being entirely true, and yes, if they are, then, well, they're true, and they're pretty big, and they're definitely nothing to scoff at. However, if, you know, the evidence goes as far as, well, if it is about as far as the evidence goes, just, you know, hearsay, emails, you know, client lists, flight logs, all that kind of stuff, then I guess it was all just for nothing. We just made much ado of nothing. You know, crying over spilt milk. Which, you know, and I saw some comment about crying over spilt semen. I just had to let that sink in for a little bit. That was another pun. I probably let that sink in for a bit. You know, the pun. Ah, geez. I just punned myself. So, anyways, I figured since we're hot on the topic, yeah, we'll talk a little bit about OPSEC. So for those of you that are not military minded, OPSEC is, you know, protecting sensitive information, and well, it entails protecting sensitive information. And I actually did a little reaction video based off a video that Lady Izdahar made. I think it was a short, by the way, that she made, which I also responded by making my own short. In which, yes, I had to agree with her because that was a big part of this channel, was about teaching forgiveness. And in her channel, she mentioned something about blackmail and how blackmail has and is continued to be a very effective tool in undermining organizations. Particularly, more often than not, blackmail about sexual preferences or things that go on behind closed doors, and, you know, for the most part, just ends up staying behind closed doors. About as far as the, you know, these accusations and smear campaigns go. But, you know, because those things are related with the sign of Scorpio, I guess you could say we take things very deeply, pun not intended again. And because Scorpio is traditionally ruled by the sign of Mars, albeit exalted in exalted in Pluto for modern day, you can see where the vengeance and the control comes in. Yeah, Scorpio, mainly through Mars, doesn't let shit slide. Oh no, Scorpio wants to make sure that if you do something to wrong them, you will pay. And you will pay very heavily and pay very dearly. Which, you know, I've talked about a bit on this channel, and we've all talked a bit about on this channel about forgiveness. This is a very real-world example where some guy insists on farting with his car, I guess. I lost my train of thought there. Where, whoops, whoops at all. Where apparently, I guess if you want to call it, I lost my train of thought. Where, you know, forgiveness and, well, the lack of forgiveness here in this case is having some very real world effects. Now, this is particularly damning when we're being hyper fixated on a situation that not only doesn't specifically pertain to us, and by us I mean the vast majority of us, since we were not directly involved in such scandals. Could have our tax dollars been being used to pay for such scandalous activities? I would argue probably to some degree. However, these scandals are, you know, they don't really pertain to most of us. And for those of us that they do pertain to, well, I guess either way, it's all essentially hearsay. Since, most of us do not have the first-hand experience. I sure don't. Now, I've seen people having the channels doing remote viewing and, doing tarot readings, and some of them even insisting on doing baneful magic, particularly in regards to punishing people based off of something that happened many years ago, that is based off of in which the evidence is flimsy at best. I'll be honest, the guy, Jeff E., I'm not going to say his whole name, Mr. Epstein, he was rich and he was well connected. So I would not be surprised if a lot of other rich and well connected people knew him. Or at least people that were aspiring to become filthy rich and or well connected. We actually saw, apparently that's what happened to some of the ladies that got hooked up with them. They were aspiring to be rich and well connected or something along those lines, and they kind of got screwed in the process. Got a little burn there. My condolences go out to them. As far as the whole forgiveness things go, well, you got people trying to do baneful magic and cursing and binding these people because of hearsay, because of, emails, lists, and some accusations. Now, if you were directly involved in those things and you do have the first-hand experience, well then, my guess that's on you. Then, you gotta take it upon yourself to do what you want to do. All I can say is, once again, from first-hand experience of my own, that acting upon vengeance is not good. Seeking retribution is not good. In fact, a lot of times I didn't even do anything. I just had really dark thoughts of wanting to punish people and to hurt them. Needless to say, I still paid for it. I still paid for some of those mistakes very dearly. Thankfully, thank God, or thank the universe, whoever's out there, I managed to recover. I actually managed to recover and come back even better. And no, it's not because, my acts of vengeance or, honor or whatever, the need to defend honor or vengeance or to punish others that I felt that, needed to be punished, was what made me come back even better. It was actually quite the opposite. It was my belief that, God and the universe are on my side. And that, I always win in the end. Yes, no matter what setbacks I have, every problem and setback that I have ends up working out for the better later on. As in, the bigger the setback, the more gain that I get from it. Now, it does work out pretty well. Only thing is, sometimes I can be a bit impatient. I'll just say, there's some physiognomical, not even a word, things that do pertain to my face shape, that would be indicative of me being rather impatient. Not necessarily being able to be good at waiting. A few other things include sort of lofty ideals, disdain for, I guess, societal norms, which in this case, the societal norm is pursuing retribution at a relatively high cost. That high cost being, cost that a lot of us would rather just not pay. I mean, don't get me wrong, people do get their justice, but that's up to God. I actually looked up a little bit in the Talmud, and so the term, an eye for an eye, if I remember correctly, it's ayin tahet ayin. Well, it's an eye for an eye. That doesn't refer to punishing. No, that refers to restitution. I mean, you can interpret it as punishment, but that mainly refers to restitution and compensation. And yeah, I agree that, if you've been damaged or violated, whether that be your personal property, your physical health and mental health to some extent, then yeah, you should absolutely be compensated. I totally agree with that. You break it, you buy it. And that's about it, right? You steal someone, you steal, I don't know, $1,000 from somebody, well, you owe them back $1,000. And if, they had some other losses because of their $1,000 missing from that whatever time frame, well, let's hope that this person has a good mindset and can also be able to not only recover, and to gain some restitution, but also come out ahead. I have that mindset, and I know, Frederick Xavier, he's talked about it a few times. I even remember, I don't think it was Andrea Schulman. I mean, I know she's talked about, mindset and all that. There's quite a few others out there. There's a lady on there I was watching about a year back. She went by the handle of Infinite Zebra. You can check her out on YouTube. I haven't seen her in a few months or so, but she's still out there kicking and doing well. Well, there's a shout out to her. So anyways, it's been going on for a little while. We're almost at the 20-minute mark now. So there you go. Take care. See you soon.